Here are 2 limited time emblems that you can get by watching and gifting a sub to my live stream over at twitch.tv/Mactics during the dates and times on screen now. Hope to see you over there. Enjoy the video. Hey, welcome to another build video. Before I show you the build itself, let me show you what it's capable of doing. And I'm gonna miss the melees on purpose, by the way, just for the demonstration. We're gonna blink, then we're gonna kill, then we're gonna kill, then we're gonna melee, then we're gonna blink, then we're gonna kill, then we're gonna kill, then we're gonna melee, then we blink again, kill, melee, blink, kill again, melee. Every time I blink, by the way, I'm making clones in my wake that can distract the enemies and detonate to release a bunch of threadlings and kill them all. And, yeah, you kind of get the idea. You just kind of boom, 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 boom all over the place. Now, I know you might thinking, Mac, those are a bunch of red bar scions. It's not very impressive. I can kill a bunch of red bar scions easy. And yeah, that's a good point. So let me actually start using the build to its fullest potential now. If I start going something like this and I go boom, 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 blinking all over the place, boom, boom, another shuriken, boom, boom. Just you kind of get these, you're flurrying around. You're making a bunch of clones. You have like 6 clones out on the map at the same time, infinite melee abilities, infinite dodges, damage buffs for your arc and stasis weapons. It's a good time. So what is this? It is the Mask of Bacchus, which is feeling absolutely absurd. While you have a stasis super equipped, and what the game won't tell you is that actually it also works if you have an arc super equipped. Make sure to subscribe if you didn't know that before watching this video. Then your dodge becomes a longer range, faster moving shift that partially cloaks you during use. After shifting, your stasis and arc weapons gain a stacking damage bonus for a short time. And of course, final blows while this bonus is active refund class ability energy. So what are we actually looking at here? What is going on? Well, it means that when we activate our class ability, it will not regenerate while light shift is active, which turns on when we do activate our class ability. The only way we can get class ability energy back while light shift is active is by getting kills. The only way we can get class ability energy while this buff is active is if we get kills. And then if we activate it again, it will stack, going up all the way to 3 stacks, with each stack giving us incrementally increased bonus damage to all stasis and arc weapons. So as you can see, as long as we're continuously dealing damage, killing enemies, and ripping our dodge, we are constantly refunding our dodge. With the correct stat setup, you'll get your dodge back every 2 kills, and with proper usage, you'll be blinking all over the map and maintaining a permanent X3 buff for all of your arc weapons and all of your stasis weapons. And furthermore, whenever we spam those dodges like we are, it's also going to proc every single thing that would be activated by a dodge, such as generating clones with Threaded Spectre, such as refunding melee energy through Gambler's Dodge, such as proccing armor mods like Reaper and Dynamo. So this build is extremely potent for spam dodging, moving all around the map very quickly, and constantly proccing off tons of abilities that are dodge-based and dodge-centric. What weapons do we want to use with this build? Well, ultimately, you could use any arc or any stasis weapon, but the Graviton Spike Hand Cannon, that is a combo arc and stasis weapon that is very gunslinger-esque, just feels absolutely perfect for this build. You can unlock this hand cannon through an exotic quest after you finish the Edge of Fate campaign, and it's only going to get better over time as it has 4 catalysts that are available to it as you explore through Kepler. Now, what you have seen so far is without any catalysts in any capacity and without any intrinsics. Now, the catalysts are a little bit tricky to get. They require you to roam around the map and play certain missions on certain difficulties as far as I'm aware. But the intrinsics that will just make the base stats of the gun significantly better are not that difficult to get. And I actually don't have them yet, but I know where they are. So before we continue with this build, I'm actually going to run over to Kepler and show you guys exactly where all 3 intrinsics are so you can get the base stats of the weapon as high as possible. So the first intrinsic is immediately when you spawn into the patrol zone, the Caldera fast travel point, which is dead center. This is where you put in the Strangelet capsules. You're just going to go ahead and roam all the way down here and then take a hard left and then another hard left, and you're going to run through this little underground area, and you're going to hop right on here, and then you're going to take another hard left when you see these Mattermorph pads, and you're going to see a Matter Spark hole that you're going to go ahead and go through, and we're going to mosey on down here until we get into this room right here. Then you're going to find this flower. You shoot it 3 times in the arc mode, hold special reload to go to the stasis mode, and shoot the stasis crystal 5 times. That is going to stop this fan, go back into Mattermorph, squeeze on through, And right here is going to be intrinsic number 1, or titled number 2, because the gun comes with intrinsic number 1. For the next intrinsic, you're going to pull up the map and you're going to fast travel to the assimilated easement fast travel point over here on the bottom left side of the map. Once you land right here, you're just going to follow my path exactly as I am going. Thought I'd grapple grenade on for a second there, using the ear edge sword to speed it up a little bit. We're going to pass the mission calculus start flag. As I'm making this journey out here, by the way, quick little shout out. If you like my builds and you want to support my channel super easily, literally just takes a couple of clicks. The link in the description below is the sponsor of this video, Opera GX. It's a browser designed specifically for gamers with things like built-in ad block. And if you install it through my referral link down in the description below, I get $3 per person that installs it. Mattermorph thing on the right side here, by the way. Grab this so you can make it through the wall. So, like, you know, if you don't mind giving it a spin, supports the channel in the process, I'd appreciate it very much. Up to you, though. Don't feel like you have to. Once we get into this room with the wyvern, we're going to head to the left, and we're going to see this little hole. We can turn into Mattermorph and go into it, and it'll teleport us. And then we're just going to veer to the right very slightly. No, that would have been bad. We're going to go through the circular door right here. And then we're going to jump, up into the right. And then we're going to find another flower. 1, 2, 3 with arc. Switch to stasis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to look down, turn into Matter Spark. Wait for that thing to go ahead. It's a little fan that it slows down. And then once we get in here, here's the next piece, temporal manipulation number 3. This one I kind of forget how to do. This one I got lost on last time. For the final intrinsic, we're going to go to the bottom right side of the map, Exile's Accord, and go to the fast travel point, Curtilage Divide. Once you load in here, you're just going to run straight off the platform, turn into Matter Spark, head into the teleporter, and then we are going to take a hard left and run right around this corner. And keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Run down the hallway. And then we're going to get to this very large, wide open room. We're going to jump up here to this platform. Then we're going to look up and to our right. And you should see a Mattermorph thing. A place where you can obtain Mattermorph. I don't know what to call it. Turn around slightly to where we just came from. Its official name is Mattermorph thing now. And you'll see this flower right here. 1, 2, 3 with the arc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the stasis. And then we're going to throw our Mattermorph at these platforms right here, which will reveal this fan, turn into Matter Spark. And then this right here will be our final piece, and then we will be able to go ahead and open our director and go to destinations and go to Savathun's throne world and go to the enclave, and we'll be able to head to the crafting table and go ahead and put on the 4th intrinsic to give it the best base stat bonuses possible. Reshape, hand cannons, graviton spike, and then we can go ahead and plug in temporal manipulation 4, increasing our range by 10 points, stability by 5, and reload speed by 10. And then that also is going to give us access to all of the other perks that we have on the gun. You can go with whatever you like the most here. Me personally, I typically like to go for range and handling. I don't really care that much about stability because, just to be genuine, my aim is pretty decent. Probably go hammer forged. Probably go tactical mag. Takes my magazine from 13 to 14 and gives me even more reload speed stat. And then I'm going to stick with textured grip. And like I said, don't have any of the catalysts yet. I think the best one for this, I would imagine, would be Temporal Alignment. Overcharging both arc and stasis modes grants a period of increased damage. Rapid Hit could also be a decent option for this hand cannon as well. Kind of dealer's choice between those two. I'll probably lean towards Temporal Alignment, but ultimately I don't know until I get these, but I wanted to get this build out early instead of hunting down for all these catalysts, which frankly, I don't even know how to get them yet. So that's why we're not doing them yet at this point. All right, so now that we got our hand cannon looking nice and good, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the build setup, starting with our subclass. Like we said with the Mask of Bacchus, you either have to use an arc or stasis super. So our super options for this build are Storm's Edge or Silence and Squall. To be 100% genuine, I feel like you could go dealer's choice here. I feel like there's situations where Storm's Edge might feel a little bit better, especially if you're like speedrunning activities, trying to get through stuff quickly. You can just use it to blink across the map 3 times. Silence and Squall is also particularly potent. Another thing that's going to impact your decision as to whether or not to go Storms or Silence is that we are running the Facet of Purpose with this build. If you go ahead and go with Storm's Edge, anytime you pick up an Orb of Power, you're going to get a stack of Bolt Charge, which is then going to allow you to do damage and get weapon kills to get that up to 10 stacks, and then you can unleash it with some ability damage. Or if you're running the Silence and Squall, you'll get stacks of Frost Armor anytime you pick up an Orb of Power. Me personally, I like to go offensive rather than defensive in a lot of situations, so I kind of vibe with the Storm's Edge a little bit more because I like the Bolt Charge instead of the Frost Armor. But again, totally up to you, dealer's choice. For our dodge, we're going with Gambler's Dodge. Now you might think, Mac, wouldn't Marksman's Dodge make a lot more sense in a build that's all about like being a gunslinger, where we're shooting enemies, hitting our dodge? Don't we kind of want to run Marksman's Dodge so that we never really have to reload our gun? And yeah, it's good. Like, I'm not going to say that Marksman's Dodge is necessarily a bad choice, but when the choice is between Marksman's Dodge, which is going to reload our gun, or Gambler's Dodge, which is going to give us a full melee refund every single time we get 2 kills, assuming we're building our stats properly, which I'll show you how to do in a bit, Gambler's Dodge is always going to be the better option in that equation. But when it comes to our melee ability, what are we doing? Well, there's a lot of options that you could go here. This build, honestly, is in the very early workings, and I think this is going to be a build that is going to be iterated on many, 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 many times in the coming weeks and months until we eventually find the objectively, mathematically, undeniably best version of it. But at the current moment, in the early stages of the expansion and in the early stages of testing, there's a lot of different angles that you could go with this depending on what situation you're in. Those who have been watching my channel for a while know how much I love Threaded Spike. I think it's a spectacular melee ability, bounces to tons of enemies, does very respectable damage, and Severing is genuinely probably the strongest debuff in the entire game. Being able to snap your fingers and cut all enemy damage output by 40% in any piece of content, bosses included, is ridiculous. And being able to do this every single 2 kills, assuming you're doing your dodges in between every 2 kills, is absolutely crazy. You could also make the argument for Withering Blade and freezing everything in between every dodge. I don't really like the Smoke Bomb here. You could make the argument that you can weaken everything every 2 kills, which, yeah, I suppose that could be good. I think the knife trick is definitely not going to be the play. You could make the argument that combination blow could work a little bit with this build in terms of like the blinking around. You could also do something where, as an example, you do like combination blow, you get combination blow ×3, and then you use an arc or a stasis sword. So you've got combination blow ×3, get your melee stat up a little bit high, and then you've got the damage bonus from Bacchus for arc and stasis weapons, and then you're whacking everything with the sword. That could be an argument that could be made. Me personally, I'm always going to go Threaded Spike first, and then maybe Withering Blade second if I'm feeling like changing things up a little bit. When it comes to the grenade, I'm not too worried about damaged base grenades, considering that we want to ideally get most of our kills with our weapons to play into the Bacchus and to play into the Light Shift, rather than getting kills with abilities. As such, I love the idea of Duskfield for more area control and more area denial, freeze up enemies, make them easier to tag, make them easier to get precision hits on, more crowd control, especially in higher end content, contest mode content, things of that nature, like being able to throw this on an enemy spawn point or throw it at a door and then everything gets frozen as they walk out. Very, very potent, very powerful. I do, however, think you could make arguments for something like Grapple Grenade so you can get a little bit more mobility. Generally speaking, Grapple Grenade is just very, very good. You guys know how much I love Grapple Grenade, but I think similar to how Threaded Spike would be my first pick here and Shuriken would be my second pick here. Early reactions, very early impressions, and my mind could change in a week. I like Dustfield first here and Grapple second here. So, like I said, very early impressions. If you feel strongly towards a different grenade, please do use it. These two are kind of dealer's choice to a certain degree. I'm just giving you my opinions on what I like to use and why. For the aspects, aspect number 1, Threaded Spectre, that's a no-brainer. With how much we're dodging, like, you guys saw the intro, 6 clones on the field at like any given time. Absolutely insane. Like, I feel like we don't even need to talk about that one. Like, no one's going to be shooting at you or any of your teammates because you're going to have 600 clones all around the map 24/7. Second aspect, this is where I think you can make an argument for 1 or 2 aspects. I like Ascension a decent amount here, and you might be thinking, Mac, that doesn't really make sense. We're not doing Ascension, we're doing the actual dodge to proc Bacchus. But the reason I kind of like Ascension a little bit is because with how much class ability refund we're getting, it's very easy to weave an Ascension into the mix of your constant dodges to give yourself and all of your allies amplified, which is a crazy strong buff. Now, granted, you get amplified just by getting multi-kills with the arc variant of the hand cannon. So is Ascension that necessary for getting self-amplified? No, maybe not. But being able to snap your fingers and give amplified to your entire team is really, really nice. But what I mean is, like, if I get a couple kills, dodge, get a couple kills, dodge, get a couple kills, hit the Ascension, and then I get 2 more kills, then boom, my dodge is back. Like, the gist of this build is every 2 kills equals a dodge. It's very easy to weave an activation of Ascension into your rotation without losing your light shift buff. Just to kind of demonstrate again. If I dodge like this, 2 kills, dodge again, 2 kills, dodge again, 2 kills, then I hit an Ascension, which will not reactivate light shift, but I do get another 2 kills, I'm right back on track. And then I can hit another Ascension if I even want to. It's very easy to weave it in while still maintaining the X3 on light shift for the weapon damage bonus for your arc and stasis weapons. You could also make the argument for gunpowder gamble if you would like, considering how many melee final blows you'll be getting if you're slinging threaded spikes every 2 kills or slinging withering blades every 2 kills. This is also a good option because with the Edge of Fate patch, you no longer need solar weapon kills to make your way towards gunpowder gamble. It can be weapon kills with any element of weapon. So you could make the argument for gunpowder gamble as well and kind of weave the gunpowder gambles in between. The reason I honestly lean a little bit more towards Ascension than I do towards gunpowder gamble is because I don't really want to invest a lot into my grenade stat in this build to juice up the damage of gunpowder gamble. I would rather invest into other stats in this build. But then again, gunpowder gamble does give 3 fragment slots, whereas Ascension only gives 2. So gunpowder gamble does have that going for it, where you can run an extra fragment. There are only 5 fragments for this build that are like actually very, very good. The 6th fragment, I wouldn't really know what to put here that would be truly making this build significantly better than it would be if it didn't have a 6th fragment. That's kind of where my issues are. Like I said, same thing with the melees. Like, there's certain parts of this build where I'm looking at it and I'm like, yes, this is objectively 100% the best thing to put in this particular slot. This build is just so versatile, and the core of the build works with so few pieces that your selections for all of the other pieces that go into the build, the second aspect, a lot of the fragments, the melee ability, the grenade ability, like, the world's your oyster, and you can still make the build work perfectly in terms of its core functionality, which is why I'm kind of giving you guys 2 to 3 recommendations for each particular slot, which I like a lot because it means if you're a guy who really likes gunpowder gamble, chuck it right in. If you're a guy who likes Ascension a little bit more, buffing up, amplifying the team, jolting targets, chuck it in. Up to you in that regard. In terms of fragments, like I said, the ones that make the most sense here: protection, bonus damage resistance, easy peasy. We already talked about purpose for the buffs on Orb of Powered Pickup. Dawn is really nice. Powered melee hits give us radiant, even more bonus weapon damage to stack on top of our Mask of Bacchus damage. And as we know, we're throwing plenty of melees with this build. Solitude, landing rapid precision hits, emits a severing blast from the target. You might think this is a little bit overkill if we run Threaded Spike, because then we have a way to sever them with Threaded Spike, and we have a way to sever them just by hitting precision hits. But Sever is genuinely so strong that having multiple sources of Sever is more than welcome. It's the best debuff in the entire game, in my personal opinion. Finally, for fragments, we got the Facet of Blessing. Melee final blows start health regeneration, which is a no-brainer, as we said before, considering how much we have our melee up every single 2 kills, assuming that we're dodging in between every 2 kills. Stat-wise, what's really important is having at least 70 class stat. If you have at least 70 class stat, that is what is going to allow you to only need 2 kills to refund a full class ability charge. If you have less than 70 class stat, then you're going to need more than 2 kills to refund your full melee charge through the Mask of Bacchus light shift exotic trait. The other thing you want is 70 melee stat, as 70 melee stat is the bare minimum that you need to make it so that Gambler's Dodge will fully refund a melee ability. That basically means so that every 2 kills, you're guaranteed a full melee ability. Anything less than 70, and you'll get less than a full melee ability from Gambler's Dodge. The rest of your stat points, in my personal opinion, we're just going to dump all of them into weapons. So I currently, with this setup, have 137 stat points in weapons, which is giving me bonus chances for large ammo brick drops. It's giving me 15% bonus damage to minor and major combatants. It's giving me 5.5% bonus primary and special ammo damage towards bosses, and 3.6% bonus heavy weapon damage towards bosses. And again, Mask of Bacchus is buffing all arc damage and all stasis damage. Not just the stuff from the hand cannon, but it's also going to be buffing damage from things like stasis special ammo weapons up in the top slot and stasis and arc heavy weapons down in the bottom slot. So if you have something like a stasis or arc rocket launcher, Mask of Bacchus Light Shift X3 is also going to be buffing those as well. If you have stasis or arc machine gun, stasis or arc sword, going to be absolutely cooking. Why do you only have 6 life? Why no health? Just curious. A little sidebar. This is not specific to this build, but I've been seeing the question asked in the chat a couple of times. That's because the health stat in PvE, for the most part, is useless. Because the health stat literally only determines how much HP you get on Orb of Power pickup. And most builds in Destiny have ways to heal or get damage resistance or have survivability somewhere in the kit. So for example, right here, we have Faceted Blessing, melee final blows start health regeneration. That right there is my ticket to starting my HP regeneration and staying healthy. I don't care how much health I get on Orb of Power pickup. Inconsequential. So generally speaking, and I would say 99% of PvE Destiny builds, you want the health stat to be as low as it can possibly go. The other 5 stats are the ones that you care about. Moving on with the build, up on the helmets, I like going with a Harmonic Siphon, assuming I'm using the Storm's Edge Super, so that rapid arc weapon final blows create an Orb of Power. You could also go with a Stasis Siphon as well, so that when you switch into the stasis mode of the hand cannon, you can also make orbs. And then I like having a Dynamo, reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets, for obvious reasons. Down on the gloves, heavy-handed, so our powered melee final blows create orbs of power because of how often our melee ability is available. And then I'm actually got 2 impact induction mods on at the current moment, causing damage with a powered melee attack, reduces our grenade cooldown, because our grenade is the only thing that we don't really have a way to consistently and constantly refund energy for. So I'm kind of investing some of my mods into grenade refund, so I can be throwing a couple more dust fields, because every time we hit something with our melee, which we get automatically from our class ability, which we get automatically from every 2 kills, that means that we then get grenade energy, and so it kind of helps keep all 3 basic abilities up quite frequently. Chest piece, the usual run-of-the-mill concussive dampener, double resistance, depending on what the damage is of the enemies that you're fighting. Down on the boots, I'm actually going with 2 weapons font mods, so that when I'm armor charged, I get 20 bonus stat points to the weapons stat per font, so this will be a total of 40 bonus stat points. If you had 3 on, it gives you diminishing returns. You would be at 50 total, not 60 total, which is why I only have 2. But anytime I'm armor charged, 40 bonus stat points to the weapons font, which means anytime I'm armor charged, I don't actually have 137 weapon stat. I actually have 177 weapon stat, which is awesome. Finally, Innervation mod reduces grenade cooldown every time we pick up an Orb of Power. The rationale behind that is the same rationale behind why we have impact induction on the gloves. Finally, on the cloak, Reaper, every time we use our class ability, next weapon final blow, Orb of Power generation, no brainer. Powerful attraction to scoop up all orbs when we use our class ability, Bomber to get some grenade cooldown when we use our class ability as well. And that's gonna do it for the build. Like I said though, this is one that is going to be iterated on over time and going to be updated over time and will undeniably become better over time. Since it is very early on in the expansion, I just haven't had a ton of time to be able to do a lot of research and practice with this build, because I've been trying to make builds for Warlock as well, and builds for Titan, and do the power grind, and make videos, and make build videos, and get ready for the world's first race, and all that goodness. So just haven't had a lot of time to test stuff out yet, but as we get into the expansion and we get to play more activities and more content, especially higher difficulty activities and higher difficulty content, the natural process of testing the build out will begin to reveal objectively that maybe Threaded Spike is the better melee over Withering Blade, or that maybe perhaps Grapple Grenade is the better grenade over Duskfield. Use what's speaking to you, use what you prefer, and use what you typically like more often. Whatever you pick, the core of the build is going to remain intact and feel absolutely spectacular and very, very fun to use. And my favorite part of it, it looks very, very flashy, and it's going to make all your friends and clannies be like, dude, what are you doing where you're blinking over the map every 2 seconds? So if you liked the build, make sure to leave a like on the video. I would appreciate it very much. And if you want to see my future builds, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the upcoming builds that I post for all 3 classes, for the Edge of Fate, and for all upcoming expansions. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.